I can't live like this anymore, Aarav. Her voice echoed in the tiny room, sharp and cold. I turned to her, confused. What do you mean, like this? We're just starting out. I told you, things will get better. Mira crossed her arms. You've been saying that for 2 years. Things will get better. But nothing changes. Look at this place, peeling paint, broken fan, a mattress on the floor. I'm working on it, I said softly. I just need more time. She laughed, that cruel, hollow sound that used to melt me. Time. You think time will make you rich? You can't even afford a proper chair. Her words cut deep. I tried to steady my breathing. Money isn't everything, Mira. We have each other. She looked at me like I'd said something foolish. Love doesn't pay bills, Aarav. Love doesn't buy security. I'm tired of pretending it does. So what are you saying? My throat tightened. I'm saying I deserve more. I stared at her, hoping she'd take it back, but she didn't. The silence felt heavy, like the air had turned to stone. You knew what I was when you met me, I said. I didn't lie to you. I never promised you luxury. I didn't know you'd stay stuck forever, she shot back. I thought you had ambition. That word stung. Ambition? You think I don't have it? I'm trying, Mira. I'm learning, saving, hustling every single day. She shook her head. You're surviving, not living. I can't spend my life waiting for miracles. I stepped closer. So you're leaving me because I'm poor? She looked away. I'm leaving because I'm done hoping. I could hear my heart pounding. You said you loved me. I did, she whispered. But love fades when you're hungry. Mira, please, I said, voice trembling. Just give me a few more months. I'll get a stable job, I'll fix this place. I just need. She cut me off. No. You always need something. Time, patience, chances. I'm out of all three. I felt something inside me crack. Is there someone else? Her silence said everything. I swallowed hard. Who? She didn't answer. Who, Mira? Finally, she sighed. His name's Malhotra. He has a business. He treats me well. My chest burned. So it's about money. It's about stability, she snapped. About a future I can actually see. I took a step back. You're choosing him over me because he can afford to buy you things. You make it sound cheap, she muttered. It is cheap, I said quietly. Because love shouldn't have a price tag. She turned toward the door. Don't make this harder than it already is. I laughed bitterly. Harder? You're walking away like I'm nothing, Mira. How much harder can it get? She grabbed her purse, avoiding my eyes. You'll understand someday. I already do, I said, my voice breaking. You were never leaving poverty. You were leaving me. She froze for a second, but then her mask slipped back on. You'll thank me one day. For what? For pushing you to become better. I stared at her, feeling my world crumble. Better for who? For you. She looked at me, almost pitying. Goodbye, Aarav. The door slammed. The sound echoed for a long time before silence swallowed everything. I stood there, staring at the empty doorway, trying to process what had just happened. My legs gave out, and I sank to the floor. The mattress smelled faintly of her perfume. It was torture. I covered my face, feeling the weight of every dream we'd built together collapse around me. I whispered to myself, maybe she's right. Maybe love isn't enough. But even as I said it, something inside me rebelled. No. This wasn't how my story would end. I wiped my tears, stood up, and looked around the shabby room. The walls were cracked, the fan was broken, but I still had breath. She laughed at my poverty today, I muttered, voice trembling. One day, she'll watch me by the life she threw away. It wasn't anger, it was a promise. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at my desk, scribbling ideas on scraps of paper, not knowing where to start but knowing I had to. Because from that moment on, every second of my life had one purpose. To make her regret walking out that door. Aarav, you can't just sit here all day, Karen said, his voice breaking the silence of our dim little apartment. You've been staring at that wall for 3 hours. I'm not staring, I muttered. I'm thinking. Thinking. He sighed. You've been thinking 4 months, man. Thinking doesn't pay rent. I rubbed my eyes. I know. Then do something about it. I looked up, tired. Like what? I've tried everything. I can't even get an interview. Everyone wants experience, not struggle. Karen sat beside me on the floor. You're not the first guy to hit rock bottom. I might be the one who stays there, I said bitterly. He didn't reply at first. Then, quietly, you're not that type. You just forgot who you are. His words hung in the air. I hated how much they stung. She took everything, Karen. My confidence, my purpose, even my hope. So what? You'll give her the rest of your life too? I stared at him. You think it's that easy? No, he said firmly. But I think it's necessary. I looked away. You didn't see her face when she left. She looked at me like I was nothing. Then make her see you again, he said. But not as the same guy she left. I laughed without humor. You make it sound simple. It is. You just have to stop waiting for someone to save you. I sighed. You talk like you've never been broke. I have, he said. Difference is, I decided not to stay there. His tone struck something inside me. I didn't reply. That night, I took his advice and walked outside for the first time in days. The streets smelled of rain and dust. I saw couples laughing, cars flashing by, shopkeepers yelling prices. The world hadn't stopped when she left, it was me who did. When I came back, Karen was at his laptop. What are you doing? I asked. Working on a freelance project. Freelance? He nodded. Digital marketing. It's not much, but it pays. I frowned. You make money from that? He smiled. Enough to eat. You want in? I hesitated. I don't even know what that is. Then learn, he said simply. There's YouTube, free courses, you just need time and Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi? I raised an eyebrow. We barely have electricity. He laughed. Then start at a cafe. Come on, stop making excuses. I wanted to argue, but something in me shifted. Fine, I said quietly. Show me. The next day, we sat together at a small internet cafe. The fans buzzed overhead, the air thick with the smell of burnt tea and frustration. Karen leaned over my shoulder, explaining SEO, keywords, clients, deadlines, words I'd never heard before. This is insane, I muttered. I don't understand half of this. You will, he said. Remember how you learned to fix that old bike of yours? Same thing. One step at a time. Except that bike never judged me when I failed. He grinned. Neither does Google. We both laughed, and for the first time in months, it felt real. Days passed. I'd wake up before sunrise, grab my cheap phone, and study tutorials until my eyes hurt. Every failure stung, but each small progress made me feel alive again. Sometimes Karen would walk in and say, "You're still at it?" Yeah, I'd answer without looking up. One day, this will mean something. He'd smile. That's the Aarav I know. But when nights got quiet, her voice would return in my head. You can't even afford proper furniture, Aarav. I'd clench my fists, whispering to the empty room, watch me. I took odd jobs to pay for Wi-Fi, carrying boxes, delivering food, anything. My body ached, but my mind was finally awake. Each rejection email, each ignored message from clients, it all became fuel. One evening, I told Karen, maybe this is stupid. Maybe I'm not meant for this. He looked at me like he was about to punch sense into me. You're already doing it, Aarav. Don't stop now. I sighed. You really think I can turn this around? He leaned back. I don't think. I know. That night, I stayed up past midnight, typing out proposals to strangers across the world. My stomach growled, my eyes burned, but I didn't stop. Because somewhere deep inside, I wasn't doing it just for money anymore. I was doing it to rebuild the man she destroyed. And for the first time since she left, I believed I actually could. Refresh it again, Karen said, leaning over my shoulder. I did. The number didn't change, $100.00 still blinked back at me. For a moment, I just stared at it, afraid it would vanish. Karen, my voice cracked. It's real. I actually earned this. He burst out laughing. You act like you just bought the world, man. Maybe I did. I pressed the phone to my chest. My hands were shaking. You don't get it. That number, that's not just money. That's proof I'm not worthless anymore. He clapped my shoulder. Worthless? You worked your ass off for this. Remember the all-nighters? The tutorials? The rejected proposals? You earned every cent. I laughed, but tears stung my eyes. I still remember when clients didn't even reply to my messages. Now someone actually paid me. Bro, that's the start, he said. You've got skills. You just needed one person to believe it. Yeah, I murmured, staring at the screen again. One person. That's all it takes sometimes. That night, I couldn't sleep. My room was dark except for the faint light of my laptop screen. Empty coffee cups cluttered the desk, and my eyes burned from too many hours online. But I didn't feel tired, I felt alive. Every click, every keystroke, every revision was like oxygen. I wanted to learn everything: ads, design, content, clients. The digital world was endless, and for once, I wasn't drowning. I was swimming. Still, there were moments when fear crept in. What if it's just luck? I whispered to myself. What if I can't do it again? My phone buzzed. Karen had texted. Stop overthinking. You're not lucky. You're learning. Keep going. I smiled. He knew me too well. The next morning, I started another project. It wasn't glamorous, a social media post for a small brand, but it felt like building a brick wall with my bare hands. Every post, every deadline was another stone in the foundation of the person I was becoming. Karen dropped by later that day with 2 cups of chai. So, Mr. Digital Marketer, he teased, handing me one. How's the empire? I grinned. Tiny, unstable, but mine. He sat down beside me. You know what I like about you lately? You don't complain anymore. You just work. Because I don't have time to complain, I said. Every minute I waste feeling sorry for myself is a minute I could be learning. That's deep, he said, sipping his chai. When did you become this philosopher? I laughed. Somewhere between failure number 30 and success number 1. He chuckled. Fair enough. Days turned into weeks. My laptop became my battlefield, and caffeine my armor. Sometimes I'd stare at the screen until dawn, my fingers numb but my mind on fire. I wasn't just chasing money, I was chasing proof that I could rebuild. One night, after sending a project file, I leaned back and whispered, "I can actually do this." Karen's voice came from the other side of the room. "What was that?" I said, "I can do this." "Good," he said. "Because I never doubted it. You were the only one who did." His words hit me hard. He was right. For months, I'd been fighting shadows of my own doubt. But with every tiny success, those shadows shrank. A few days later, my client left a glowing review, reliable, creative, and fast. 3 simple words. But they meant the world. I took a screenshot, sent it to Karen, and wrote, "Look." He replied instantly, "Told you. You're building something real." That night, I walked to the rooftop. The city lights blinked below me, and the air was cool against my face. For the first time, I didn't feel small. "I'm going to make it," I whispered. No one answered, but I didn't need anyone to. Because deep down, I believed it. The next morning, I opened a new notebook and wrote in bold letters. Goal: build my own agency. Karen peeked over my shoulder. "An agency? That's big." I shrugged, smiling. So was earning my first $100. But I did it. He laughed. "Fair point. Just don't forget me when you're famous." "Never," I said, grinning. "You're part of this story." He tapped the notebook. "Then make it a good one." That night, as I closed my laptop, I looked at the same screen that once felt like a mirror of failure. Now, it reflected possibility. That small win wasn't just about money, it was about belief. And belief, I realized, was worth far more than $100. "Sir, are you ready for your panel?" Ria asked, handing me the event schedule. I nodded, straightening my tie. "Yeah. Let's get this over with." She smiled softly. "You say that every time." "Habit," I muttered, glancing at the mirror. My reflection looked calm, sharp suit, confident posture, steady eyes. But deep down, I felt that old restlessness again, the one that never really went away. The seminar hall buzzed. With voices, camera flashes, and business chatter. I'd attended dozens of these events since my agency took off. But today felt different. As we walked in, Ria whispered, "That's the keynote speaker, Mr. Malhotra. His fiancée's with him." I didn't care, until I turned my head. And there she was. Mira. She was laughing, her hand resting lightly on Malhotra's arm, the same way she once held mine. My throat tightened. Ria looked at me. "Sir. You okay?" "Yeah," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just, recognizing someone." She followed my gaze, then understood. "That's her." I nodded once. "That's her." For a moment, time folded in on itself. I wasn't the man who owned a company anymore, I was the broken fool she left behind. Every piece of progress, every sleepless night flashed through my mind. She hadn't seen me yet. Ria whispered, "You don't have to talk to her." "I know. But you want to." I exhaled slowly. "No. I need to." When the session ended, people surrounded me, congratulations, business cards, invitations. I smiled, shook hands, played the part of success. But my eyes kept drifting toward her. And then, she noticed me. Her smile froze mid-conversation. Her eyes widened. I could almost hear her thoughts, "Is that really him?" I gave a polite nod. Nothing more. A minute later, she walked over. "Armand." Her voice trembled slightly. "I can't believe it's you." "Believe it," I said evenly. "It's been a while." She laughed nervously. "You look different. Successful. People change." I smiled faintly. You seem well. I am. She hesitated. This is Mr. Malhotra, my fiancé. Malhotra extended a hand. Pleasure to meet you. Mira told me you used to know each other. Something like that, I said, shaking his hand. Mira's gaze flickered, searching for something in my eyes, guilt, anger, maybe even regret. But I gave her none. After they left, Ria came beside me. You handled that well. Did I? I muttered. She studied me for a second. You didn't say anything cruel. You didn't show emotion. That's control. I gave a short laugh. Control. Inside, I was ready to explode. Then you've grown, she said quietly. The old you would have shattered. Her words stung because they were true. Later that evening, I found myself alone on the balcony outside the seminar hall. The city lights blurred below, and the air carried faint echoes of laughter from inside. I thought about Mira's eyes, the surprise, the unease. She didn't expect me to rise. She expected me to stay broken. Ria stepped out beside me. You're still thinking about her. I'm thinking about everything, I said. About how people move on, pretend the past never happened. Maybe that's her way of coping. I shook my head. She didn't cope. She escaped. There's a difference. Ria crossed her arms. And you? Did you move on? I told myself I did, I said quietly. But seeing her, it felt like opening an old wound. Only this time, I didn't bleed. She smiled faintly. Maybe that's healing. Or maybe it's numbness. She looked at me carefully. You're not numb. You're just remembering who you were. I turned toward the glass doors where Mira stood again, laughing with her fiancé. My chest tightened, but the ache was sharper, cleaner. Do you think karma exists, Ria? She tilted her head. Why? Because for the first time, I said, I don't feel like the victim anymore. I feel like, something's shifting. Her eyes searched mine. You're not planning something, are you? I smirked. No. Not planning. Just, observing. She frowned slightly but didn't press further. Sometimes the best revenge is indifference. Maybe, I said. But sometimes indifference isn't enough. When we left, I caught Mira glancing at me again. This time, she didn't smile. Her fiancé was busy talking to another guest, and for a moment, she looked unsure. I met her gaze, held it just long enough for her to remember. The silence between us said everything words couldn't. Then I turned away. As we walked toward the car, Ria said softly, you know, ghosts only haunt the living. Then maybe, I said, sliding into the seat, it's time I stopped running from mine. She looked at me curiously. Meaning? I smiled faintly. Meaning the past can visit, but it doesn't get to stay. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't fully believe me. Truth was, I wasn't sure I believed myself either. Because somewhere deep inside, the fire that I thought had died, just flickered back to life. Sir, you're early today, the barista said, recognizing me as I walked into the cafe. Habit, I replied with a smile. I wasn't really there for the coffee. It had become my place to think, to stay grounded when the world started spinning too fast. The bell above the door rang, and I froze. Mira. She walked in, wearing oversized sunglasses and carrying a designer purse that didn't match her shaky composure. She looked around, scanning faces, until her eyes landed on me. For a second, she hesitated, then forced a smile. Aarav? Wow, it's been ages. Has it? I said, pretending surprise. You look different. So do you. Her voice trembled slightly as she sat across from me without asking. I almost didn't recognize you. I get that a lot, I said lightly, sipping my coffee. There was a long silence before she spoke again. I've been meaning to call you. But you know how life gets. Busy, I said. It does that. She laughed weakly. Yeah. Busy. I watched her fingers trace the edge of her cup. Her nails were chipped. The polish, fading. Mr. Malhotra keeping you busy? I asked casually. Her smile twitched. He's traveling. Business stuff. Of course. She looked away. You heard, didn't you? I stayed quiet. About the company, she continued, forcing a laugh. People exaggerate. It's not as bad as they say. I leaned back. Rumors are funny like that. They always carry a little truth. Her mask slipped for a second, and I saw it, the fear she was trying to hide. You still read people too well, she said softly. I had to learn, I replied. It's the only way to survive in business. The waiter brought her latte. She didn't touch it. So, she began, what have you been up to? Just working hard, I said. Trying to build something that lasts. She looked at me, studying every word. You sound calm. Confident. Experience does that to people. Her gaze drifted toward the window, where my new car gleamed under the afternoon sun. Is that yours? It is. Wow. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You've really changed. So have you, I said quietly. She flinched, just slightly. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The cafe around us buzzed with soft chatter and clinking cups, but it all felt distant. She finally broke the silence. You must think I'm getting what I deserve. I don't think about you that much, I said, meaning it more than I expected. That's a lie, she murmured. You used to love me too much to forget. Maybe. But love fades when pain grows. Her eyes glistened, but she quickly looked down. You always had a way with words. And you always had a way of running from them. Her lips parted as if to respond, but she stayed silent. I checked my watch. I should go. So soon. Deadlines don't wait. She gave a small, forced laugh. Still the ambitious one. Still trying, I said. The difference is, now it's working. Her gaze lingered on me, searching for weakness, something familiar she could still hold on to. But all she found was distance. Do you ever miss me? She asked suddenly. I looked at her, really looked. Her makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes, the tension in her jaw. She was unraveling, and she knew I could see it. I miss who I was when I didn't know better, I said finally. Not you. Her face fell. That's harsh. It's honest. The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument we ever had. She whispered, You're colder now. I'm calmer, I corrected. There's a difference. She nodded slowly, her fingers trembling as she lifted the cup. You won, didn't you? It's not a competition, I said. At least, not anymore. But it feels like it, she said bitterly. You got everything you wanted. Not everything, I said softly. Just enough to stop needing validation. Her voice cracked. I thought you'd hate me forever. I did, I admitted. But hate takes energy. And I'd rather spend mine living. She stared at me for a long time before whispering, You really did change. I had to. As I stood to leave, she said, Aarav, if things were different. They're not, I interrupted gently. And that's okay. She nodded, eyes glistening. Maybe one day, we can. No, I said quietly. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Her shoulders slumped as I walked away. Outside, the wind felt lighter somehow. Ria's words from weeks ago echoed in my mind, sometimes the best revenge is indifference. Maybe she was right. Because as I looked back through the glass, I didn't see the woman who once broke me. I saw someone trying to hold together the pieces of a life that was slipping away. And for the first time, silence felt louder than any victory. I sat in my office, staring at the skyline through the glass wall. The city lights twinkled like a promise, but inside, everything felt hollow. Ria knocked softly. "Sir." I turned. "Yeah, come in." She stepped inside, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "You've been here for hours. Don't you ever sleep?" "I sleep," I said, "just, later than most." She set 1 cup on my desk. "You're still fighting ghosts, Aarav." I laughed bitterly. "Ghosts never leave, do they?" "Some do," she said quietly. "But the ones that matter, they linger until you stop chasing them." I didn't answer. Later that night, I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling. The room was dark, my phone silent, and still, the memories of Mira clung to me like shadows. I whispered to myself, I have cars, I have money, recognition, and yet. Yet the emptiness felt heavier than the nights I spent broke, chasing freelance gigs, waiting for my life to begin. I thought about her laugh, that cold, cutting laugh that haunted me for years. I thought about the seminar, the cafe, the way she looked at me, searching for cracks, finding none. I sighed. Maybe revenge doesn't heal at all. The next morning, Ria found me at my desk again, face buried in my hands. "You're still thinking about her," she said softly. "I can't help it," I admitted. Even when I succeeded, it didn't change the emptiness inside. I thought achieving everything would make her irrelevant. It didn't. She sat across from me. "You've built a life, Aarav. But peace isn't built like buildings or agencies. It grows quietly, inside." "Easy for you to say," I muttered. She tilted her head. "Maybe. But notice, when you talk about her, you tense up. That's not strength. That's attachment." I laughed hollowly. "Attachment, revenge, maybe they're the same thing. You want her to see your life, to feel the weight of her choices," she said. "Exactly," I said, leaning back. "It's not just success. It's proof. Proof she underestimated me." Ria's eyes softened. "And will it satisfy you?" I looked away. "I don't know." That night, I walked through the quiet streets, leather jacket wrapped tightly around me. Cars passed, muffled laughter echoed from restaurants, but I felt isolated. I stopped near a fountain, watching the water ripple under streetlights. "I have everything I thought I wanted, but it doesn't feel like enough." "Sir." Ria's voice startled me. She had followed silently, as she often did. Sometimes I wonder if all this was for me, or just to prove something to her," I said. "You're doing both," she said calmly. "And that's fine. But don't forget, proving it to yourself matters more." I nodded slowly. "I know. But the past, it clings." She handed me a cup of tea. "Let it cling. Let it remind you why you fought, why you built this life. But don't let it chain you." I sipped the tea, the warmth spreading through my hands. For a moment, the tension eased. "Sometimes, I envy you," I admitted. "You can just exist without dragging old wounds everywhere." "I've seen your fire, Aarav," she said gently. "It can burn you out, or it can light your path. You choose." Her words struck a chord deep inside. I realized that for all the victories, for all the milestones, I had neglected myself. Success felt empty because I had been chasing ghosts rather than peace. Yet a part of me still wanted Mira to see it all, the wealth, the recognition, the unshakable confidence. I didn't voice it. Ria didn't ask. Silence settled between us, comforting in its own way. I whispered to the night, "Maybe one day I'll feel complete. Maybe not. Ria smiled faintly. Complete isn't a destination. It's a choice. And you're learning it, step by step. I looked at her, grateful, and for the first time in years, the void didn't feel insurmountable. Not yet healed. Not yet free. But learning, at least. And somehow, that was enough to keep walking. I parked my car in front of the lake and stared at the house. White, 2 stories, just like we used to dream about all those years ago. Ria leaned over. This is it. I nodded. The one we always talked about. The one we couldn't afford back then. She frowned. You're serious? Curious, I said. That's all. We walked up the driveway, and my heart skipped a beat. A familiar figure appeared on the porch. Mira. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Aarav? Her voice shook. You're here to buy this? Yes, I said simply. My tone didn't waver. She stepped closer, her hands trembling. I can't believe it. How? I held up the papers I'd already requested from the agent. I didn't plan this. I wasn't looking for you. But life has its ways, doesn't it? Her breath caught. I didn't think you'd. I smiled faintly. Thought I'd never get here. Maybe you were right once. But things change. She blinked back tears. I can't. I mean, this is ours, remember? It was a dream, I said. Back then, it felt impossible. Now, I paused, letting my words settle. It's real. Her voice cracked. You bought it? Yes, I said quietly. I did. We stood in silence, the lake shimmering behind her, the White House gleaming in the afternoon sun. I could see the confusion, the disbelief, the regret in her eyes. You always said I couldn't afford it, she whispered. I remember, I said. Every word. She laughed softly, but it wasn't joyful. It was a sound of someone realizing the weight of their own actions. She said, swallowing hard. You really proved me wrong. I didn't do it for that, I said. I did it because I had to prove it to myself first. Her eyes filled with tears. I never thought I'd see this day. I'm sorry, Aarav. You were cruel, I said gently. But cruelty doesn't last. Hard work does. Her hands trembled as she reached for the gate handle. Do you want to see inside? I nodded. I already imagined it, but yes. Let's go in. Inside, the house smelled of fresh paint and polished wood. I walked through the room slowly, remembering all the conversations we had, all the dreams we shared. She followed silently, her eyes darting around, her lips pressed together. Finally, I stopped in the living room. This is it, I said. The house by the lake. Our dream. She turned to me. I can't believe you made it happen. I believed it could happen, I said. Even when you didn't. Her shoulders slumped. I mocked you for not having enough money, for not having enough ambition. I thought it was over for you. And yet, I said, here we are. Her eyes filled with tears again, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman who left me broken. I saw someone realizing she had underestimated me. You've changed, she said softly. So have you, I replied. Every word weighed with truth. But some things can't go back. Some things only move forward. She looked at me, lips trembling, but she didn't argue. I signed the final papers, my hand steady. The pen felt heavier than any weapon, yet sharper than any word I could have said. She watched, frozen, as the ink dried. Her tears fell quietly. You did it, she whispered. Yes, I said. I did. And now, I smiled faintly, we can both finally see what we dreamed of. Only I'm living it now. The silence that followed was louder than any argument we ever had. I looked at the lake, then at her, then back at the house. Everything had come full circle. Sometimes, I thought revenge needed action. But silence, success, and patience, it had done more than I ever imagined. And for the first time in years, I felt complete. The knock at my door startled me. I opened it slowly, and there she was, Mira. Her hair was messy, her designer clothes rumpled, and her eyes red from crying. She looked like someone I barely recognized, yet the memory of her was vivid in my chest. Aarav, her voice trembled. Please. I need your help. I studied her carefully. Mira, it's been a long time. I know, she whispered, taking a hesitant step inside. But, he's gone. Malhotra, he left. And her voice cracked. I don't have anything. I've lost everything. I closed the door behind her. Silence stretched between us, heavy and raw. You taught me something, Aarav, I said finally, my voice calm. You taught me what love shouldn't be. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to speak, but no sound came. I'm not the same man you left behind, I continued. I'm stronger now. I've moved on. And so can you, without me. Her shoulders sagged. I never thought I'd end up like this. You thought you could mock, belittle, and leave, I said quietly. And yet, here we are. Life has a way of teaching lessons people don't want to learn. She shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. I'm sorry, Aarav. For everything. For laughing at you, for leaving, for... Stop, I said softly. I don't need apologies. They don't change the past. But I need you to know that I regret it, she said, choking on the words. I took a deep breath, letting the anger that once burned through me fade. Regret can teach people, yes. But it won't fix what was broken. It can't give me back the nights I cried, the pride I lost. And it can't give you back what you squandered. She stared at me, silent, as if trying to measure the distance between who I was then and who I was now. You came here expecting me to help you? I asked. Or were you hoping for forgiveness? Both, I thought, but I didn't say it aloud. I don't know, she admitted. I needed someone to save you. I finished. I can't. And I won't. Not anymore. I've learned that my peace isn't in vengeance, and it isn't in fixing someone else's mistakes. Her tears fell freely now, unrestrained. I was cruel. I was selfish. And I never realized. You realized, I said softly. That's enough for you. Not for me. I've already moved on. Her hands shook as she pressed them against her face. I'm so sorry, Aarav. I stepped closer, gently. It's okay. You don't need to say more. You don't need me anymore. And I don't need you. Her shoulders slumped as if all the weight of her past mistakes had finally landed. For a moment, I saw the girl I once loved, the one who laughed, who dreamed, who made promises she couldn't keep. But that girl no longer had any hold over me. I hope you find a way to rebuild, I said, my voice steady. Not me, not us. Just, yourself. She looked up, eyes glistening. I don't deserve. You deserve what you learn from this, I said firmly. And I deserve peace. She nodded slowly, the last remnants of her pride crumbling. I will try, she whispered. I opened the door for her. Goodbye, Mira. She stepped out, walking toward a life she had to face alone. I watched until she disappeared from view. I closed the door, leaned against it, and let out a long breath. For years, I had imagined this moment differently. I had imagined triumph, confrontation, maybe even gloating. But standing here, alone in the quiet of my home, I realized victory wasn't in seeing her fall, it was in letting go. Ria appeared silently behind me. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, a faint smile on my lips. "Yes. For the first time in years. I feel free." She smiled, not needing more words. I walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. The night was calm, and for the first time, I didn't feel hollow. The storm inside me had passed. Mira's fall didn't give me joy. Her suffering wasn't my satisfaction. Peace was. And now, finally, I had it. I parked my car near the lake house and stepped out, letting the evening breeze hit my face. The water shimmered under the fading sun, and for a moment, I just stood there, breathing. Ria joined me silently, carrying 2 mugs of tea. "It's peaceful here," she said softly. I nodded. "It always was in my dreams. Now, it actually is." She glanced at me. "You didn't win against her." I raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" "You didn't win against her, Aarav," she repeated, placing a mug in my hands. "You won against who you used to be." I took a sip, the warmth spreading through my chest. Her words hit me harder than any argument I'd ever had with Mira. She was right. I had spent years chasing revenge, holding on to pain, letting it drive me. Now, that fire had turned into something quieter, something steadier. "Closure doesn't come from revenge," I whispered. "It comes from release." Ria smiled faintly. "And you've released." I looked out at the lake, the house glowing softly in the evening light. I kept thinking I needed her to see what I became. But I didn't. I needed to see it myself. And now I have. She leaned against the railing beside me. "You've grown, Aarav. Truly." "I still remember the nights," I said quietly. "The hunger, the cold floors, the silence. I thought I was broken beyond repair. And maybe I was, but I chose to rebuild. And now," I paused, letting the words settle. "Now I can help others." Ria looked at me curiously. "Help others?" "Yes," I said, a small smile tugging at my lips. "Young entrepreneurs, people who feel trapped by circumstances. I know how it feels to be at rock bottom, to doubt yourself. If I can guide them, show them that pain can be a teacher, maybe it won't be wasted." She nodded. "Passing on the lessons. That's powerful. I want them to understand," I continued. "Success isn't just money, cars, or recognition. It's the peace you carry inside when the world tried to break you. That's the real victory." The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the lake. I felt a calmness settle into my bones that I hadn't felt in years. "You really have changed," Ria said softly. "The old Aarav would have been consumed by bitterness, trying to prove something to someone else. And now?" I asked, letting a slow smile spread across my face. "Now," she said, "you're free." I looked at her, letting the truth of it sink in. Free. Not just from Mira, not just from pain, but from the version of myself that clung to anger and humiliation like a lifeline. "I still drive by the old streets sometimes," I admitted. "The places that reminded me of what I lost. But I don't feel hurt anymore. Not really. Just, lessons." Ria's eyes softened. "Lessons that make you wiser. And now you can teach them." I leaned against the railing, watching the water lap gently at the shore. I can finally let go of the past without needing it to be rewritten. Without needing revenge, without needing anyone to apologize. I can just live. Ria sipped her tea. "And that's closure." "Yes," I said, feeling the words resonate in my chest. "It's quiet, simple, and unexpected. But it's enough." The lake reflected the first stars of the night. I could hear the distant hum of the city, the subtle rustle of leaves, the wind carrying away old echoes. "I'll start the mentorship program soon," I said. "Teach them resilience, patience, how to turn failure into growth. Share what pain taught me without letting bitterness rule the lesson." Ria smiled. "They're lucky to have you." I shook my head softly. "No. I'm lucky. I get to see that the person I became wasn't defined by anyone else's cruelty. It was mine to create." We stood in silence, sipping tea, listening to the world settle around us. I realized for the first time in a long while, my heart wasn't restless. My mind wasn't racing. Closure had arrived, not with confrontation, not with triumph over her, but with the simple, unshakable calm of knowing I had finally released everything that hurt me. And that peace was mine. I sat on the porch, my legs stretched out, a gentle breeze brushing my face. The lake reflected the sunset, gold streaking across the water like a promise. Ria stepped beside me, carrying 2 cups of tea. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" I nodded, taking a sip. "It's more than I ever imagined. And quieter, peaceful." She smiled softly. "You've earned it, Aarav. Every struggle, every long night, every scar, it brought you here." I let out a slow breath. I remember the day she left. The way Mira laughed at me. The way she made me feel small. "I remember you telling me," Ria said quietly. "You were crushed." I was, I admitted. But I was also awakened. Every insult, every betrayal, it pushed me to rebuild, to fight, to survive. Ria sat beside me. "Do you regret it?" "Regret?" I shook my head. "Not once. I wouldn't have the life I have now if I did. Every failure, every tear, it was necessary." I stared at the lake, watching the water ripple in the golden light. Funny how the same place that haunted my dreams became my sanctuary. She nodded. "And you kept growing. You didn't just get revenge, you became stronger than the man she ever imagined you could be." I smiled faintly. Yes. Revenge wasn't about her. It was about proving to myself that I could rise, that I could survive, that I could thrive. Ria's eyes softened. "And now?" "Now," I whispered, "I can sit here and feel whole." I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun settle over me. I can remember the nights I had nothing, the cold floors, the hunger, the despair, and I can still smile. I can still live. "You've come a long way," Ria said gently. "I have," I agreed. "And for the first time, I can thank her." "Thank Mira." She tilted her head. "Thank her?" "Yes," I said quietly. "For leaving. For hurting me. For making me realize what I needed to become." Her betrayal wasn't my curse, it was my awakening. Ria's lips curved into a knowing smile. "That's profound." I whispered it again, softly, as if the lake could hear me. "Thank you, Mira." The words lingered in the air. I felt the tension inside me release, like chains breaking, like a storm finally passing. She changed me, yes, but not into someone bitter or vengeful. She changed me into someone capable of peace, someone who could carry scars without letting them define me. I leaned back on the porch chair, watching the sky deepen into hues of orange and violet. I've learned that life isn't about holding grudges or reliving the past. It's about taking what hurts you and turning it into something beautiful. Ria nodded. "And you've done that." "I've done that," I repeated, letting it sink in. The air smelled of fresh wood and the lake. I felt the steady heartbeat of my life, calm and sure. "Do you ever think about her?" Ria asked softly. "Sometimes," I admitted. But not with anger. Not with pain. Only with clarity. She was a chapter, a teacher, and a mirror. And now, the book continues, without her shadow over it. The wind whispered across the water. I closed my eyes and let the warmth fill me. Every struggle, every scar, every word that once cut me, it was all part of the path that led here. Peace, I whispered, letting the word echo softly over the lake. Ria rested her hand on my shoulder. You earned it, Aarav. Truly. I smiled, looking at the horizon. Yes. I earned it. And now, I can finally live. Free, whole, and at peace. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the lake gold for the last time that day. And in that golden light, I realized my heart had healed. The story that began with betrayal ended with acceptance. The man I once was, broken, humiliated, desperate, no longer existed. In his place stood someone reborn. I whispered again, quietly, a final benediction to the past. Thank you, Mira. And for the first time, it wasn't bitterness or anger that filled me. It was peace.